I'll call you up on stage. Just hang on for a second. All right, I'm here to do some stand-up comedy, you guys. The audience is looking very excited. I don't have any jokes. But what I will say is that we're gonna get started soon. So take your seats, everybody. Okay, thank you. How'd you guys like that first panel? I liked it. I thought it was informative, right? I think an outsider's perspective really helps because, you know, coming from a legal market, it's like, you guys got all these rules and legislations and senator, and I'm like, I don't know, I can just walk into a dispensary whenever I want, like, you know, not to make you jealous, but anyway, today we're gonna be talking about things you never thought you needed to know, the unexpected challenges of building a successful brand. I'm probably gonna repeat myself just because there's not enough people in this room yet, but our panelists are ready to go, so I'm gonna give everybody probably a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Anyone have any questions? You have cool hair. I like it. Oh my God. Maybe 10 years ago or something, I would have complimented you. I'm playing. Okay, I'll be back, you guys. Sorry for making you wait. I'm gonna go get Brandon, okay? Okay guys, I'm back. So we actually are ready to get started. So if you didn't hear me the first time, today we're gonna be talking about things you never thought you needed to know, the unexpected challenges of building a successful brand. This panel is brought to you by ePac Flexibles. Your moderator will be Wendell McGill, and your panelists will be Lindsay Jones, DeAndre Anderson, and we had a guest who was sick, so I will let him introduce himself. Please join me on stage. What's your name, sorry? Lindsay. Lindsay, okay, nice to meet you. And your name is? Devin. Oh, you're Devin. Wait, Devin, you're here.
Whoa, just have her badge.
Okay, you're not. Okay, okay. Yeah, that's the joke we're making. I was like, I'm so confused. Okay, nice to meet you as well.
Anderson.
Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about your company too.
Oh, thank you. You gotta grab some chips.
I definitely will. Okay, Wendell, the mic is yours.
Okay, thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. I hope, the morning is gotten off to a good start. A good crowd out there. Appreciate you coming in and listening to what we're going to talk about today. And I came to this event last year with, I didn't know what my expectations were going to be. And I was really impressed with what was going on here, the people that I met. And thought this year it would be a nice continuation of it, and we wanted to be in sort of a bigger play in the event this year. So when I was thinking about putting a panel together, I obviously own a packaging company, but I wanted to do things a little bit more. I really wanted to talk about entrepreneurship, the journey of business owners and where they are in their story. Because if you don't have a successful business, you may buy packaging one time, but you're not going to buy it very long, right? So how have these folks gotten to where they are today? And we're, it's too bad that Devin didn't make it, but I'm very thrilled that her business partner, Will, is here with us today. So what I'm going to do is ask each of these folks to tell their story, their entrepreneurial story of how they've gotten to this place. I've got a couple of questions that I'm going to ask them as well once we finish with that piece of it. And then I really want to save a lot of time for you guys to ask questions. I mean, this is when you start hearing their story and you start hearing how they've gotten to where they are at this point, you're going to have some questions. If you're sitting in the audience today thinking, wow, I want to get into this space, what does it really take? Hear from some folks, and myself included, that it started the journey and got to this place. So with that, let's start with DeAndre.
Greetings, everyone. I am Dondre Anderson. I am the CEO of Symphony Potato Chips, the world's only gourmet seasoned, all-natural, vegan-friendly potato chips on the planet. So I actually have some samples back there in the back, so if you didn't get some, make sure you grab yourself a bag. If you don't get them before they're gone, it's not my fault. I told you about it. So we're just introducing ourselves?
Yeah, and your story. Yeah, like we did on the deal the other day.
Okay, so a little bit about how we became a potato chip company. So it's a very interesting story. So my dad is actually a retired restaurant chef from Las Vegas. So he actually worked on the Las Vegas Strip, and he actually invented a spice while working on that strip. Well, from that spice, we actually decided to bottle it and sell it because I thought it was phenomenal when I tried it. And so what we quickly learned is that people don't buy spices they can't taste. So when we got into our first grocery store, we were all excited, and we got pretty packaging because people seem to just buy pretty packaging. So, okay, great, let's just do that. Well, the sales really weren't happening, so we decided to do an in-store demo. Well, when we did that demo, because it's an all-natural spice, we could put it on raw vegetables, popcorn, and just some all-natural items, and people tried it, and they bought it. It was great. It was just gone. I was like, yeah, this is wonderful. So then we had the idea, well, we got to think about how can we expand. So we thought about, okay, so how can we bring attention to our spices faster than we can go from store to store to store, kind of keep it, start building a momentum. Well, we decided to do an in-store cooking demo. And so we said, well, what's something quick and easy that we can do and tasty that people love? So we thought of potato chips. So we just sliced them right into the grease there. Next thing, we pulled them out of the grease, put our seasoning on there, and people were like, okay, the spices are good, but where the chips at? Come on, man, quit playing with me. Where the chips at? They're on the chip aisle, right? I can go right here on the chip aisle. I said, no, we're just selling spices. Like, no, we don't want the spices, we want the chips. I'm like, okay, you do know we can't get the chips. I said, let me be quiet. Let me just be quiet. I said, yes, we have spices, but one day we're gonna have chips. And so from that idea and just seeing people's reaction, I decided that, you know what? If the right person comes along and says, I love your chips, and I want 100,000 bags. So I decided I wanted to set my company up in that fashion. So that way, when the right person came along and said, I wanted 100,000 bags, I would know how to fulfill that order. So it didn't start with me just saying, hey, I'll just get with a small-time packaging company that does it out of their garage. I needed somebody that can make millions of bags. And then I decided I needed a co-packer that could keep up with that as well. So I structured my supply chain with that ideology in mind of, hey, if the right person comes along, I know exactly how long it'll take me to get that versus trying to create that. A lot of businesses I've seen in my day have failed because they cannot meet the demand. I think lots of people have wonderful ideas, but when the right person comes along and says, I think it's amazing, I want that, and I need 10 million of that. Then okay, well, I'm just cooking them in my kitchen. Well, no. You'll be happy to know that the chips you were trying, I never once did they come out of my kitchen. Everything came off my supply chain. So I want to encourage you all to think about what level of success that you want and then start from that mindset because you'll start building relationships with people just like ePac, small plug there.
I love it.
But you'll start building relationships with people who are like-minded. And just like, I like to think of a business as an extension of yourself, like it's like having a child. And when you have a child, it takes a village. The same thing holds true for your business. You got to have a village of like-minded people who can help you reach the level of success that you want. That's my story.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, how about you and your business in Nashville, Tennessee?
Yeah, so Will Tarleton, I'm one of the founders of Canvas Supply Co. Also have our packaging up there in your far right. And there's 5 original founders, and the hemp so Canvas Supply Co., we make hemp-derived products. And just kind of some background on how Canvas came to what it is now. My history is I kind of had an opportunity to go work out in Northern California in the early 2000s with some family friends and sort of get to know that community out there, and eventually moved out there for a while and then came back. I'm from Tennessee, born and raised in Nashville, and so out there got introduced to agriculture, went to a agriculture school as well in North Carolina, and then came back and kind of saw that cannabis in some form was headed eastward, from the early 2000s into the teens. And so I was into organic vegetable production, and so when I moved back, I focused on that and learning how to do that operation, knowing that cannabis would come along at some point. And it came along in hemp in 2014 with the passage of the federal farm bill. So my background is mostly on the cultivation side, and when that came along, it was fiber and grain at first, and then people were really into the CBD isolate, and then we realized everything else we could do with it. And what was really fascinating is just the science and tech that really propelled the industry in the last probably 5 years or so. And so being in Tennessee, one thing that I've had to really learn is I also had to be very active politically. And so trade associations, the importance of that and getting your voice heard down there. We were with the Tennessee Hemp Industries Association, and so we worked directly with the Department of Agriculture, went down to the Hill, talked to legislators, really from a grassroots area, and got eventually a very successful program with the state. That's probably one of the best ones in the country, as far as just ability to grow, cultivate, make things sort of loose, but also strict, but very cottage scale industry is important to the state in Tennessee from an agriculture perspective. So that really helped us. So just fast forwarding to Canvas, we were mostly we were doing large scale biomass to then focusing on high grade flower, which all the founders spent time in Northern California, kind of got our background there, and so we all ended up meeting each other in Tennessee. And for me, I was focusing on cultivation and had to operate my business, trying to do everything, and had certain people jumping in to help. And the importance of finding the right people for the right positions and growing that business has been really helpful, and not getting distracted by the shiny objects in this industry has also been helpful, because you can easily say yes to everything and want to just try it all, but really, that personal, your ability to just like manage your own time in the right way and really focus on the right people that work well with you and you can trust. So that's how Canvas started. Each one of the founders sort of played a different role. I was cultivation side. We had someone who was really good at wholesale side. My wife does a lot of the design, website, payment processing, back-end stuff. So all of us had a different role to play, and so I was able to pass those hats off to people I trusted. So for me, that was now Canvas, which we weren't even interested in doing products, but had an opportunity to do a pre-roll wholesale account. And like you said, being able to meet that manufacturing expectation is important, and making sure the facilities that you have, that you're above board on everything. And at this point, we sell vape cartridges. We've had to go PACT Act compliant, register with the ATF, do USPS. So really formalizing your business in this industry has been another big step. It's like legitimizing, hey, we're a cannabis business and we want to do business the right way. So that's kind of where Canvas is now.
Fantastic. I like the part about finding your skill set And you've got to find where there are gaps in that skill set and then fill those. And it sounds like you've done that in your management team.
Always
So-
always continuing to try
Yeah.
to refine it.
Yeah,
It's definitely not
absolutely.
perfect. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, Lindsay. And you know, I think you're going to, when you hear Lindsay's background and you hear the experience that this guy has, you're going to know this industry is in pretty good shape. So, or there's a good future. So with that, I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you. This is going to be difficult for me because I'm one of the people that talk like this. And I've got to keep my mic here, so if I lose you, just say, hey, put the mic to your mouth. So my name is Lindsay Jones. I'm CEO of Indofloor. I think I see one more bottle of my product there on the table, so that's a good sign.
The chips were right here.
But there's a couple more in a box underneath the table, so at the end, if you want one, I think I have another dozen or so. But I have two companies, Indofloor and Indofloor Hemp. I've been in the cannabis space now since 2017. But I spent 40 years plus, longer than a lot of the people in this room have been alive, building my knowledge base in the food and beverage industry. I worked for some of the big name companies, Kraft, Frito-Lay, Campbell Soup Company. Spent some time with Starbucks during their growth years. That was a really, really great experience for me. Also did some work with a company in Canada called the Original Cakery. So the first half of my career, I approached it from a manager's perspective, and I was learning. The second half of my career was more of that of a leader. And to these guys' point, making sure that I identify the talent that I need to accomplish the objectives that need to be accomplished. So my last 20 years was, hey, Lindsay, we got this messed up situation in Oregon. Can you come fix it for us? We've got this messed up situation in Baltimore. Can you turn this business around for us? And I got really good at that, and it just really kind of stroked, you know, me in the right way. I'm not a maintainer. I'm a change agent. I'm a challenge person. I make it happen. And when it's steady state, I'm ready to go to the next challenge. So I retired in 2014 and did a lot of fishing, played a lot of golf. Wasn't good at the golf, but traveled a bit. But I was really not satisfied. And one of my very close friends went to work for a company called Curaleaf. Curaleaf is now the largest medical marijuana company in the world. They had a business unit down in Florida that was going nowhere. For over a 3-year span of time, they were only able to establish a half-acre grow and open one dispensary. So I was asked to go in. It wasn't necessarily a turnaround, it was a startup, which is what I love doing. And we were very successful at doing that. My first step was to make sure I surveyed the team, identified who could help us versus who couldn't. The ones that couldn't, we helped them go find something that they would be good at, and we brought in people who had the skills and the desire to make that business unit successful. I run into a lot of smart people over the course of my career, but they like that I want to make it happen, that get up and go, that energy, that refusal to be denied. That is what distinguishes a talented person, in my opinion, from those who lead you to believe that they are. So in a 12-month period of time, we added 450 employees. We opened 21 dispensaries. We added a 5-acre Dutch greenhouse to grow our plants. We took a company that in 2017 delivered between $700,000 and $800,000. And the next year, we dropped $19.5 million to the bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay? The thing I'm the most proud of, though, from that experience was that of impacting patients. There are a lot of people that are in this space to appease those people who want to use marijuana for non-medicinal. How's that? For non-medicinal purposes. I'm into helping to improve the quality of life. Certainly, I have to offer those products. We had to offer those products that people wanted to enjoy. But I was really, really focused on patients. And we went from seeing 350 to 400 patients per month to 10,000 patients per month. And I made it my business to get out into my dispensaries, engage the people, engage the patients, and make sure that the products that we were making available to them were the products that they wanted. So one of the key learnings that I would offer as an entrepreneur is there are a lot of people with great ideas around products that they want to sell. But you got to understand what people are willing to pay money for. If you can't figure out that equation, as my partners have pointed out, you're going to be kind of frustrated. So as you decide to go out and launch your businesses, make sure you understand that equation. And it is very dynamic. It changes from time to time, and you have to stay on top of that. So
Yeah,
is that okay?
Thank you. So the way this will play out from here is I've got a couple of questions that I'm going to ask the panel to answer each of them. And then I really want to save some time for you guys to have some questions for these guys. I mean, this is an opportunity to really hear from some folks that have been successful with this, and let's pick their brain, okay? My very first question is, and it was sort of the title of the panel, so you're thinking back now and you started the business, you're running the business, what issue were you really sort of not prepared for? In other words, I didn't think that would come up, right? So, and then how did you overcome that? I mean, can we, Dondre, can we start with you? Okay.
Absolutely. So I would say the one thing I never thought I'd have to deal with would be redefining what success meant to me, right? Because there's so many people out there that have different levels of success. And some people want to be, Oprah rich. Some people now want to be, Amber's name, Jeff Bezos rich or what have you. And for me, it was kind of twofold. It wasn't just about wealth. It was more so redefining. And what I mean by that is, for me, it was, because this is a family-owned business, so it started with my father, so giving my father a legacy. That was one part of the success for me. Another thing was then giving my children something to actually work into. Because there's so many of us, we have the American dream is, you work hard in college and you go out and get a good job. Well, nobody really talks about who provides those jobs. So the next level of success for me was giving my children not only jobs, but things that they would have continuous wealth from. Because when you're starting anything, capital is a big deal. No matter what it is, you got to have some kind of money coming from somewhere. And so lots of us will just work our day jobs and do our hustles at night. Well, I wanted to give my family a better launching pad. And then going from there was redefining, again, myself. Because business grows you. Because who I was back in 2010 when we started is a whole different individual. First of all, I'm wearing a pink shirt. I never thought I'd wear pink. But I'm here. I even got on pink socks. So it's so many amazing, and then you get a chance to have conversations that you never thought you would actually have. And so for me, I had to be open to growing. And growing from a standpoint of not just, of course, I've gained a few pounds too, but then mindset-wise. Because when you start having conversations with companies that are like, hey, we think you have a great product, we love your story, we'd love to get your chips, and now you're having conversations about, okay, so how do I produce over 1 million bags? How do I now produce a market or create a market overseas, being international? What does that look like? And then if I'm just talking about just retail, how do I expand in a retail space versus online? These are things 10 years ago? Yeah, nah, wouldn't have thought about. And then also looking at it from a minority perspective, and then some of the challenges you face there, because some people just don't want to do business with you, don't care, because they care what you look like. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm bringing you like 50 grand a month. Doesn't matter. And so these are things that you have to be willing to deal with as well. I strongly believe that it's all about the village you surround yourself with. Because when people are already at a certain level or a certain plateau, a lot of times they're not willing to bring you along or lift you up. Sometimes some people are just happy doing business the way they've been doing it, and they feel like there's, as he said, steady state, and they're going nowhere else. And if that works for you, if that's your level of success, I say find those people, you'll probably do great. But when you talk about being a change agent, because having a gourmet chip, I didn't realize in the beginning I'd be a change agent. I had no idea, because I was just thinking about just doing spices. But then when we grew into potato chips, and then to find out that, gosh, and I know this is one of my competitors over here, or my old competitors, is like, hey, lots of people are used to salt and potatoes. So when we launched our brand, and we had the original flavor, that was our first flavor we launched. I quickly realized of how quickly we were raising the bar. Because some people think salt and potatoes is original chips, that's it. But nobody ever thought that, you take a bite out of ours, and it's like, oh my God, it's a burst of flavor, which you guys have now experienced. Now I see the table's empty. So So I didn't expect that. So I knew that we had to grow, or I had to grow individually, because now I'm looking at not only leading myself into a different era, but also my children are watching. And then also hiring people as well, and building a culture. That's another thing I didn't think I would have to deal with, but create was a culture that would continue to be on. Because we're talking about generational wealth, then that means that it has to go on past me. So I have to build an environment that cultivates people's dreams and the things that they want to do, so that way when I'm gone, it will continue to go past me. So it's always focusing on not just what's happening right now, but I have to look like 10 or 15 years from now, and how things will continue to grow and prosper. And because I'm at a cannabis event, I'm very happy that we have our chips here, because cannabis is going to lead you to me. You're gonna come see the chips. So I'm very happy about that special ingredient, which I'm still trying to figure out. But yeah, but those are some of the challenges that I had to overcome and face, being a change agent, and then understanding what it looked like from my family's perspective, and redefining what my level of success was. And another thing is, I don't believe in the word reality. Lots of people want to walk up to you and say, well, that's not realistic. See, that's an R bad word. See, that's terrible word. Because you can go as far as you want to. However far you decide to go, you can get there. And a lot of times, when you surround yourself with like-minded people, you'll get there faster. And then you have to look at, okay, well, gosh, I only dreamed this big. Now these people are talking about this. Okay, so I now have to get myself, okay, let's go. Let's make it happen. And it's a round-the-clock thing. That's why I like to kind of relate it to having a child, because it's a round-the-clock thing. It's constantly. It doesn't stop. And so you have to surround yourself with people who understand that vision, understand that dream, and are willing to take that ride with you. So,
fantastic. Will?
Yes, the glass ceiling is real, and you got to really make a decision on if you're going to break through it and improve yourself, or you're good with where you are. And there's nothing wrong with either of those decisions for most folks. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was, my transition from being a cultivator, basically in 2019, right before we started Canvas, at another company that I was doing my cultivation under, and it was just the most litigious year I've ever had in my life. I don't know what, nothing was, you would have purchase orders from X, Y, and Z, and think that these people you're working with were good, and it was a big wake-up call for holding myself and others accountable for their due diligence, on your business structure. And I give a lot of credit to Devin who's our CEO with Canvas, and has just done a great job in that position. So we adopted. We're in our second year of adopting what's called an Entrepreneur Operating System (EOS), and that's something that's really held our team accountable and canvassed, and something that we can, that's structured, that allows for processes to be made and to be improving weekly, quarterly, and really setting up that cadence with your team and your businesses, and know that checking twice and proper planning prevents poor performance. I can't. That's probably a good mantra that I've learned a lot in the last 5 years with this, and obviously you need it for cultivation. So, and then applying myself. So moving out of that role, and then now I hold a position where I do market development and sales. So learning how to be a sales person has been very challenging in the last year, but it's also provided, along with our processes and just sticking with the processes that we create on the team, has allowed for that professional growth that I didn't have before, that I have grown to appreciate more, because once you get more comfortable with those and see the positive outcomes of holding your team accountable and just sticking with it, really
Absolutely.
paying off. So that's probably those are some of the things I learned a lot about in the last, starting up and transitioning businesses as well. Basically shutting down one and starting with this one, and in some way sort of evolving one where when we started, the supply chain wasn't really there. So everything from grow supplies to seeds to equipment, I was doing that plus growing, and then we had people who were doing the wholesale and distribution part and working with manufacturers, and then it was a lot of biomass. So then taking farmers' crops who grew it, and then their contract fell through, so they needed a place to dry it. So we went through the whole thing of that transition of biomass and handling, post-harvest handling, and helping farmers through that. Canvas really started out as sort of that farmer-facing supply company for supporting that, and then things obviously shifted to more of that higher grade cultivated indoor greenhouse flower and extracts.
Okay, thank you. Lindsay, what do you think?
Well, in my opening comments, I gave you my background, right? But when Georgia opened up for medical marijuana licenses, the first of my two companies, Indoflor, was formed to pursue one of those licenses. So I'd managed a sizable outfit down in Florida, knew how to run the business. But writing an application, and that's a different ballgame altogether. And at that time, there was a team of one, me. So a lot of the stuff that I was accustomed to delegating out, I had to do it. Now, quickly, I leveraged my background and experiences and brought on some partners who also had expertise in different dimensions of the business to help author that application. But that was a reality check for me. As much as I thought I knew, I realized there was a lot that I didn't know when it came time to shape that around some specific criteria within the application process. Got it? We weren't successful at getting one of the licenses. Please don't ask me why, because that could take the rest of the day explaining to everybody why that's the way that it is right now. But we do intend to reapply when more licenses, when this situation is unraveled and more licenses are made available. The second company, Indoflor Hemp, that provided the samples that are left on the back table, we have multiple dimensions. So we're selling products online, high quality hemp-derived cannabinoids. We started with the common molecules, CBD, CBG, but we're starting to expand into some of the minors. So I have a lot of things I learned. So in entering that space, man, I had no idea how hard it was to get people to come to your site and buy your product. So you create this website, this web page, and it's your store, right? And so out there on the internet is millions of people surfing all the time, clicking and looking and not buying, right? Or clicking and seeing your company's name and moving on, that sort of thing. So the challenge became, how do I stick a oar out or something and scoop some of those people off the internet into my store to buy product? I mean, and it was a rude awakening. I thought in the beginning, you just put a site up and people just come and they buy. It is way more complicated than that. So before you decide to jump into the online arena, do your homework. Get somebody who understands how to do the marketing for you, which I've done, because that is super, super critical. That is not something that you just come to, right? The other dimension, the second dimension of EndoFlora hemp, now this one kind of played right to my wheel well. And the pink and white package there that Wendell's company helped to structure for us is EndoFlora hemp is now working with companies interested in coming into the cannabis space. So I have a team of 5 really smart people. I'm just a guy with the initiative to go out and find these opportunities. But we partner with companies and help them figure out how to stand their businesses up. That is a product from a company called Shu2 Pharma. They wanted to bring pharmaceutical grade cannabinoids into pet treats to treat the conditions that dogs and cats initially and then horses later have. Again, we have within our team, we have veterinarians, we have all of those things, but the realization for me, as much as I know about operations and supply chain management, is back to that equation. I want to sell this. Who's out there willing to pay me money for it? And in this case, working with Shu2 Pharma, helping them understand how to manage that equation.
Yeah, great advice. So I've got one more quick question on packaging, and then we'll open it up for you guys to ask some questions. But this is the plug for packaging now at this point. And if you look at, it's what I do, you know. And but if you look at, there comes a point in the journey where you've got a product and you need it to look professional. I mean, you know what Lindsay was talking about. I mean, this is a product that's sold at vets, right? Yep. Yeah. So it needs to look pharmaceutical grade. It needs to look professional. And if you bought anything at your vet, you look at the price of it. It's expensive, right? That's the kind of look that you need to portray to those customers that are there. Now, Symphony chips. I mean, the bag didn't last very long there, but it has to be professional. It has to look. Can you, guys at AV, hey guys, can you put my presentation up? I want to show one little quick slide here. So the next one, the packaging impact. I mean, what packaging really does. So that consumer, as they're walking down the aisle, whether it's in a retail location or whether it's on a digital storefront, there's been tons and tons and tons of research done on this. The average consumer spends about 3 seconds making that decision. If you have a bag that has a label on it and a stick, it's cheap, but you're not going to get very far. Why, when you first get your first orders into Whole Foods, are they going to say, go get some real packaging, right? That's what we're here to help for. I mean, look at this. This is Naughty Pretzel, a local brand here in Atlanta. Overnight success, 8 years in the makings. Now they're in 1,000 storefronts. When you sit and you look at the product, That blue is world champion Atlanta Braves blue. This is Georgia Bulldog world champions or college champion red, right? So you don't even know that as the consumer, but you feel it, right, when you're there. So that's how important the packaging side of it is, okay? With that, what I really wanted to do at this point is let's open it up. Let's see if there's some questions. If not, I've got some more that I can ask these folks, but yeah.
Hi, my mother just whispered not to embarrass her, so I won't. My sister is right here. We just launched a new product, and one thing we're running into is the distribution chain is really, really slow. And I'm trying to explain that to my mother, but have any of you run into that right now where we'll order a product and we'll get like a time of like 3 weeks, and I think the last time it took them 3 months. So, and then we get our customers, when are you gonna restock? So has that happened to any of you recently?
Just real quick from that, one of the things about having this sort of entrepreneurial mindset is you've got to plan for some of those things, especially right now. We have nutraceutical people that they can't get ingredients. They're just simply not being made, right? They can't get ingredients. So here I had a fill time. It was on date here. They can't get the ingredients to make that. They get a substitute. Two different things go on at that point. The original packaging that they had that was made for those ingredients now needs to change. The label needs to change. You got to reprint your packaging. So in today's world, boy, you really got to be conscious of that. The other side of it is the transportation. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we put something on a truck, it now leaves our dock, it was on time, we're happy. The shipping company loses it, you know? It's happening like that all the time. And so build yourself some buffer into whatever. If you're launching, don't make it. If I lose a day, I'm hosed, because it'll happen. Now, guys, anyone else want to add to that?
Sure. So one thing I would say that think of it as like paycheck to paycheck, right? You don't want to be that way. You don't want to be one paycheck away from the end, right? So what I've begun doing is I order now 2 or 3 times what I normally order. So that way it's there, because the supply chain problems, or at least transportation, are real. Because as a product myself, I have to always be cognizant of, because my customers, they're ordering like, hey, we want our stuff. And we have a timeline on our website of 1 to 3 business days we're shipping out to you. So we go through everything we can to make sure that always happens. So that means we have to get into forecasting. So we have to really go over our sales and just look at averages. Okay, how many we sell this month? Okay, how about next month? Okay, how about the month after that? Okay, this is an average. Okay, we're gonna order this now. So that way, and sometimes I do get it from a storefront perspective that you don't have enough space to be doing that sometimes. So that means you have to have a rolling inventory where when you reach a certain point, you have to start reordering then, because to your point, if it takes 3 months to get something, well, I don't think you can help 3 months. But if it's something more reasonable, like 3 to 4 weeks, then you can at least have that inventory on the way. So in case you already have the shelf kind of built out, but you have inventory on the way, because you're going to average this many that are coming in. And I kind of got to work from that angle. And that's kind of what I've done from a product perspective.
If I may?
Okay, absolutely.
If I may.
Yeah.
So the company I was just, that I talked about, Shoe2 Pharma. So I'm the guy for them. So one of the things, I don't know the scale of your business, but my approach is to always have at least 2 suppliers of everything. Okay? I've found in my journey, I've done contract manufacturing with a couple of companies along the way. You go to these websites, or you call people and you talk to them. We can make water flow uphill. We can drop product in your back porch, day after tomorrow. Don't buy it. Vet them. Go visit them. Talk to not just the salesperson or the person that's committing to you, talk to the people who are actually running the business. Perfect example, I was vetting one of the companies to make product for Shutu, and I said, okay, so from the date I give you a purchase order, how many days do you need to give me a truckload of product? Mr. Jones, we can get that in 2 weeks. Now, it's not my first rodeo, so I knew that much turnaround for 46,000 units for a company that size was a big challenge. Guess what? I flew to Oregon, spent 3 days with them, and realized that it takes 6 weeks, not 2. I knew that before we placed our first order. Sales guy still telling me 2 weeks. I knew it was going to be 6. So my message is, know who your suppliers are. Go see them. Go visit them. Talk to other people that are buying product from them to get the straight story.
Yeah, the other thing that we've really tried to hone in on is setting your customers' expectations as well. We try to tell our retailers that we work with, 72 hours from payment, your order will ship. But once it leaves our hands, it's not in our hands. So we can only guarantee, we'll do it the right way up to there. But, so expecting meeting their expectations. If you don't have the product, don't tell them you have the product. Simple things like that have really help those relationships just grow stronger and build that trust that you want with your clients.
I'll tell you a quick ePac story as well. The other part in terms of manufacturing a product, when we first started up the plant, we had a day or 2 days that the plant was down because we had a $5 blade that wasn't sharp. And it drives you crazy. The whole plant shuts down, 15 people not being able to get product into the next step for a $5 part. So you put processes in place as you move along and as you go, and we now have someone that walks around every day with a clipboard, and have we got 7 of those backups? Have we got 4 of those? I never want to see the plant go down for a $5 part, right? So, it's those kind of things. What else? Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Greetings, gentlemen. I'm Brandon Martin, host at PC Oasis web series. Good to meet you all. I had a question about being transparent with the client. With respect to delays and unforeseen circumstances, how important is transparency when communicating with the client base, and what should and shouldn't be communicated with the client?
I always believe in transparency because it just saves time. And you want to build relationships with all of your clients. Sometimes if it's not personally with me, sometimes it might be through my account manager, which happens to be my daughter. So it's having those contacts with them. So as things happen, right? Because I recently went through a part where I had to shut down. I think it was my smoke chip line for a little while because it took a while to get our seasoning to the manufacturer. So I just let my customers know, hey, this is what's happening, because some people order from me like every week, for example. So I just let them know. I'll reach out to them, hey, this product is sold out now, but we should have it some more in about 2 weeks. And normally, when I say 2 weeks, meaning I'm thinking it'll be there like the next week. So I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver. So that's kind of my standpoint on that. And the more transparent you are with people, just as a rule, people have a tendency to trust you more, especially when you're doing business, because business is really about relationships. It's not so much about money as it is relationships, because as he mentioned, redundancy is key. But if you don't have relationships with people, and these people who are running these organizations or these suppliers or what have you, then you can kind of tell, like, hey, Bob, I really need this. You said it'd be next week. How do you feel about that? When Bob starts stuttering, okay, Bob only stutters when he's lying, right? These are things you begin to pick up when you start talking to people. So it's important to have relationships with your suppliers and always be transparent, because this is something that's out of your control. It just is what it is. And when you tell people that, you use the words "I don't know," which a lot of times in this country are just taboo for some reason. I don't have an answer. I don't know. People respect that a lot of times. So,
Yeah.
Really brief. You just hit the nail on the head to your question. Be totally transparent. And if you're asked the question and you don't know the answer, tell your potential customer, I don't know, but I'll go find out and I'll come back to you with the solution. That builds so much trust. This is all about trust, because these people can buy their product just like I have multiple suppliers. They can buy it from someone else as well. And if they detect that people understand that things happen, and they will forgive you for those things, but they won't forgive you for lying to them. Okay?
Yeah, and I'll add to that, another thing we've brought into our sales team is really identifying your ideal customers to begin with. That also helps in building that relationship quicker, obviously, if you're on the same page and know what to expect from each other, and that they fit the type of person you want to work with. We definitely agree with everything that was set up here. It's very important to, don't say something you can't commit to. The other side, let's see, that's it for now. Yeah, but just identifying the right people that you want to work through, and really holding yourself accountable to those people and those profiles that you're going to. That's been something that's been really working out a lot better this last quarter or so for us.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, first of all, Paul King with Hummingbird Laboratories. We're trying to start a business, and we find the challenges of business funding for startups. Could you guys tell us about some of your experiences in raising funds?
So I will say this. My background actually happens to be software development. So one of the other, I have another company that I have as a software development company. And I use that as my venture capitalist, because I need, 10 or 15 grand sometimes infused where there's no questions asked. I don't have to worry about paying somebody back or a long, lengthy application process, because I need the money, Friday, not 3 months from now, Friday. So for me, it's been bootstrapping. I have not really had a ton of great luck as far as getting grants, things of that nature, because potatoes, people are like, well, Frito-Lay already does that. What are you doing? Frito-Lay, who was in the potato chip company? So that's a lot of things that I ran into. But I knew I had something special, and I was not afraid to work for it. So I will say that there are some grant programs out there. There are also some venture capitalists and also some equity people as well. But if you're going to go the equity route, I would strongly advise that you look for people who actually add value to your business. As he mentioned, marketing is key, right? You don't want somebody to just throw money at you, okay, because money doesn't solve the problems. As he mentioned, getting the order to bring people to your website, money doesn't solve the problems. You have to have good marketing. And then you have to have the right supply chain in place. So if 10,000 people hit it and they want to buy immediately, you have the infrastructure to be able to supply that. So you want people, or we'll call them money people, to come in who can bring resources to the table, not just money. That's my advice.
I would also, think about how committed you want to be in. Right? Does all in mean I'm going to put my 401k, I'm going to put my house on the line, I'm going to put all those things? Some people are completely up for that. Just starting a business doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. You would have to go in with the mindset that you could potentially lose all that, right? So you got to mitigate that side of it and be careful. I mean, it is the realities. Guys?
Not much more to add to that, just one thing, just one small comment. Don't plan on getting rich the day after you start your business. I've run into people that expect that they're going to start a business and they're going to have a Bentley 2 months down the road. That doesn't work. So plan on, a long journey. Make sure, as has been mentioned before, you got the right financial backing for your business, but make sure you have it for you. I would not expect to be able to put anything in my pocket for at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Okay? So keep your money going into your business. Set your expectations realistically.
And I'll just add two things. The importance of packaging. We did actually recently use the gummy packaging that we have here to demonstrate some of the regulatory issues that we were coming up against in Tennessee. And Devin had an opportunity to testify in front of one of the House bills. So the importance of proper packaging and marketing, we use that as an example to demonstrate this is the kind of regulation we're just asking for. And we've really lucked out. My wife does all of our, my wife and one of her best friends and Devin, but my wife is the head of our marketing team. So having someone that's both design, marketing, and does all of our website, online side in-house has obviously been a huge savior there. And then as far as capital, Canvas did a raise with family friends round and has been able to basically grow from there. We have some really good local older partners in Tennessee that have all provided great mentorship, and so that's the biggest thing. I think Devin would agree with this as well, is the people the mentors you seek and the people that you surround yourself with are really going to just elevate your experience with entrepreneurship and having people that will hold you accountable and that you want to work for and instill that drive that you were speaking of earlier, where those are the people that get hired, those are the people that move ahead. So those would be the last few things I would add.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you to our moderator and panelists. Don't leave the stage yet. We're going to get you to stand up here and take a picture real quick. And then we're going to break for lunch, everybody's favorite part of the day, of course. So everybody give them another round of applause, please. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you as well.
Get in with this.
Oh, am I? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not part of your panel. Sure, I'll get into your picture. Why not?
You'll make us look good.
Oh, thank you.